Hey guys, thanks for watching the Frost Tanking 101 series. I wanted to make this video, this bonus video, to show you guys a little bit about how you can think on your feet. We've covered all the basics. By this point, if you've watched the whole Frost Tanking 101 series and seen the introduction as well, then you know your role as a tank and you know how to tank as a Frost Death Knight. The only thing that's left is to actually get out there and just start doing it. And in the process of actually tanking as a Frost Death Knight, or as any tank at all, in the process of tanking, you're going to run into situations where things get out of control. No matter how good or great of a tank you are just one out of 5 people in any given heroic. And because of that, things are going to come into play where you don't have full control over a situation. People may die, healer may go down, the DPS may pull something that you hadn't intended to get pulled, and you're going to need to know how to think on your feet. You yourself may mess up, and you're going to have to find some way to recover. So being able to assess the situation quickly and react to it to the best of your ability personally and to the best of your character's ability as far as your talents and actual skills go is key. I think the biggest thing is to just not give up when a situation seems hopeless. You can't really make miraculous recoveries if you don't fight against miraculous odds. I mean, most people, whenever things get really tough, they tend to just give up, wipe, and try again. I mean, that's a perfectly natural response. That's okay to do that. I'm not saying everybody has to try and play the hero, but it looks really impressive when you can pull off something that is really impressive. And I find that most tanks actually like to do things like that. They like to show that they're good. And I mean, who doesn't really? So anyway, what it comes down to is you need to be able to think on your feet. And I'm going to use this Ick and Crick fight as an example. In this Ick and Crick fight, there are some mistakes that go wrong. People die. Most of the party dies. If you've been watching my other videos, you know at the end of my last one, I showed you that most of the party died in this one. So anyway, I want to get into this fight, and there was some luck involved, and I, by all means, do not pull this off 100% perfectly. Oh, look at my anti-magic shell there. That looks nice, just using it to run through the ooze. Anyway, I had to point that out just because in my last video I was pointing out how to properly use an anti-magic shell, and that's one of the ways. But yeah, I want to get into this fight because I didn't pull it off perfectly, and there was a little bit of luck involved, but you have to use that to your advantage. I mean, you have to use everything you can to your advantage in situations like this. So anyway, let's just go ahead and get into it. The pull starts off normally enough. It's nothing real major. Start off with an icy touch, then a plague strike, and then just start beating him down. And this isn't really my my video on how to do Pit of Sauron, but I will give some tips here on how to fight Ick. Here he begins summoning these explosive mines. As a tank, you want to keep building threat on him at this point. You don't really want to run away from him even though he's throwing mines at you. What you do is you strafe around him in circles. He always puts a mine where you're currently standing, so whenever you see a mine appear under you, just strafe a little bit to your left or right, and just stay in melee range and keep building threat on him. That way when he stops, he's still attacking you. And here he's going to start his pursuit. And our Shadow Priest here, he says it was a lag death, and actually re-watching the video, I do believe him, because if you'll notice, he dies and then his body continues to run way out there. This guy doesn't have a knockback, so him jumping way over there while he's dead tells me that he did have lag, and lag probably is what killed him there. Okay, so here's the Poison Cloud, and I use my anti-magic shell to generate a ton of runic power. But the rest of the party dies here, and I'm going to pause again just to show you the situation. So here we go. My HP is about 1 good hit away from death, and my only surviving party member is Death Knight, and he's doing about 2.4 DPS, 2.4k DPS. He can't heal because he's a Death Knight, so I have to rely solely on my own abilities to be able to heal myself and keep myself alive. At this point, it's perfectly okay to think to yourself, oh, okay, this is a wipe, and let's just go and wipe it up and try again. And that's what most people do, and I don't fault them for it. It's the logical thing to do. But I want to let you get inside my head a little bit here, and I want to show you exactly what's going on in my head at this point. To me, I'm thinking, you know, it's a never say die kind of thing with me. I know that I have Death Strike, and I know that I can refill my own HP, and I know that I've got cooldowns that I can use, so why not give it a shot, right? So that's exactly what I do. I hit my Icebound Fortitude, and then I see that he's about to cast Pursuit, so I get my distance on him, and in my head I'm thinking, if he chases me, I'll use my ghoul to refill my health by summoning him and using Death Pact, but if he chases the other Death Knight, which is exactly what he's doing, I'll run up and I'll use Death Strike as many times as I can while he's pursuing him to try and refill my health. And that's exactly what I do, and I get myself past half health this way. So now I'm just trying to tank him and using Death Strike to try and refill my HP. Thankfully he does his Mines ability right afterwards, and now I'm just using that tactic I showed you earlier on avoiding the mines and keeping yourself in melee range to heal myself up even further. And now here comes a fairly big mistake on my part. It's not really a mistake because I didn't know this would happen, but my anti-magic shell doesn't block nearly as much damage from his poison nova as it did the first time. As a result, again I'm forced to think on my toes, and I'm still death striking to try and regain as much health as I can, and thankfully relying on my high dodge and parry rating to mitigate the rest of the damage, or avoid the rest of the damage. And here he goes again with his pursuit. Again I'm thinking if he pursues me, I'll summon my ghoul and use Death Pact to survive it. But he pursues the other Death Knight again, and yet again I'm able to use my Death Strike to refill my HP. Here we're going to see him cast another Poison Cloud, and I'm going to wisely avoid it this time, having learned my lesson the first time. I still recommend using Anti-Magic Shell whenever you can against that, especially when you have a healer. This time it was just too risky. The other Death Knight summons up his ghouls, which provides me just a little bit of extra time to get off another Death Strike or two, and refill my HP just that little bit more. The ghouls quickly die to the poison though. And here goes the Mind trick again. This is also a welcome ability of his because it allows me to avoid the mines and top off my HP, which consequently leads to a successful victory over Ick using just 2 Death Knights. Now, I did have a bit of a personal rush after winning this fight, but if you'll go back and rewatch it, you'll see that Ick did a lot of cooperating with me. He chased the other Death Knight at all the right times, he used his abilities frequently, and stood still a lot for me to be able to get my Death Strikes off. And to be honest, the choices that I made as far as Death Striking and catching up to Ick and things like that were the obvious choices. They were the things you would naturally think to do if you were in that situation. My main point is, at any given time, I had a contingency plan. I always had my ghoul ready. Like, that was my contingency plan in my head. My ghoul was ready to summon and then use Death Pact on so that I could regain a quick amount of HP. I had trinkets at the ready to pop them for defensive cooldowns. I was also trying to bide my time to wait for Lifeblood to come back up, and Icebound Fortitude, and other things like that. There was also my own Army of the Dead that I could have used. And in my head there was always a backup plan, there was always something else that I had going on, and luckily my first choices were the ones that were presented, and they were the ones that I was able to pull off, and we came out of this with a successful victory. But the main thing is that you need to be willing to put yourself into these situations in order to actually have them happen, and thinking on your feet in any situation is key as a tank. So thanks for watching the Frost Tanking 101 series, guys. Until next time, go out and have fun. Cheers.